before, so it doesn't know that there was originally black information there. All it knows is that there was red information when I went to select it, and now there's nothing there because I just moved the information away. If I were to deselect this, deselect, and then try and select it again, we're going to lose information behind here as well. So, see, problems abound. This is just awful. I'm not going to go here and right-click for deselecting, as I think we've done it enough times for me to give you the shortcut key, which is Control-D. And Control-D just simply deselects. Get it? See, deselects. It kind of makes sense. Okay. We could try to correct it using the fill tool. I don't want to fill it with red. I want to fill it with black. So let's just set these at black. You'll notice there's a black-white icon right here. That just sets these two to black and white. And I could correct this down here using the marquee tool and just fill it with black. But again, dear God, that was like a million steps and not at all an elegant way to go about it. So I want to undo. If I press Control-Z and then hit Control-Z again, it will undo and redo the last action done, which isn't what I want. What I want is undo the last 20 actions done. So in order to do that, you go into Window, History, and here you can just step back a bunch of steps. And this is an absolutely massive window, which is very important if you're in the habit of making mistakes. And who isn't? All right, so just going to step back. You see that I can go to a previous state. Let's go all the way to here. All right, so that looks good. We're going to start from there. Press OK. Now, we know, not press OK, just hit X, get rid of the history window. Now, we know from experience, just moving this around without putting it on a separate layer would be a very bad idea. We'd get a repeat of what happened last time, and dear God, we don't want that. So I'm just going to do what I did earlier and cut this out. So Edit, Cut, or Control-X, and paste it back in with Control-V. And now you'll notice it's on a separate layer, which means, using Transform, Control-T, we can move it around to our heart's desire. So if we want to move it up here into a box, great. And if we want to move it over here to a box, great. And if we want to duplicate it and make a couple of boxes out of it, that is also great. So I'm going to just transform this out. You'll notice that it's created on a different layer. This one I actually don't need to constrain proportions. It's just a box, It's not like I'm going to skew the image by constraining the proportions. One thing I want to do is I want to have this snap to the line right here. You'll notice right now it's just kind of around that area. If you wanted to snap to a guide that you drew, and remember drawing a guide is just going from the ruler that you opened up in View Ruler and then just clicking and dragging. So if you want it to snap, you click on Snap. Under View, you click on Snap, and now when I go up here, it kind of snaps to that area. You'll notice that it snaps right there, which is exactly what I want. So here we go, and going to, that's good. Do I need to deselect? I don't think so. It's just the transform tool. This looks great. I don't want to look at these guides anymore, so I'm just going to turn off looking at all of the extras. Guides is included in extra. I'm going to click on this and make it a little bit smaller. I'm not even sure what I'm going to put in here yet, but whatever goes in there is going to be smaller than it once was. All right, another thing that I want to do right now is I want to make it so this isn't just a solid red layer. Frankly, solid red layer, rather boring. I want to give it a slight gradient. And in order to do that, that's in the Fill tool where it says Gradient. So I want the gradient to go from red to a slightly darker red. So if I just click and drag, it doesn't create that at all. What it's doing right now is it's going from the foreground color, which we want to be red, to the background color, which was white. So it did a gradient from black to white. We want it to go from red to a dark red. So I'm going to click it like this. And again, this isn't what we want. We want it to just be inside of the box. And in order to do that, yes, we could use this marquee tool, but I'm going to complicate things and show you a different tool that you can do this with. That was Control-D to undo that selection. Control-D to just get rid of the selection. The Magic Wand tool, and this will just click a big thing of color. So this just selected everywhere that's red. It just looks for, all right, where's other red? Let's select all of it. And now with this area selected, whatever I do is only going to happen inside of the active area. So I'm not going to get anything up here. Let's turn off these other layers to avoid confusion. And so now, get something like this. That's a little strong. Let's actually just have it go here, click and drag. Something to note, if you hold down Shift while clicking and dragging, it'll have it snap to a 45-degree angle, or a 90-degree angle, or a 180 angle. It makes straight lines is what it does. Alright, that's still a little bit too much. Just going to drag it, and there we go. Just a very slight thing. Alright, so that added a little bit to it right here. Last thing I'm going to do before ending this session, as I think it's gone on a little while, is I want to add a little bit of a white line below this. So there is a fancy way to do this, and I'm debating whether I want to do it the fancy way. No, we're going to do it the simple way right now. And just duplicate this layer. Move the layer down a little bit. So basically, if we're just looking at this layer, it went from here, and just using the nudge tool, going to move it down a little bit. Select all of this. Use the paint bucket tool. Set this on white. Press OK. Deselect. Control D. Go back to the move tool, and go up here. Go up here. Go up here. We'll notice right now that this isn't just a white line, and that's because the white is above the black. And we'll notice that right now there's no white line, and that's because the red is above both of them. So just need to reorder it until it works. And now there is a white line. I'm going to move both of these layers up a little bit. Just shift-click and move them, holding down shift to keep it inside. And in fact, going to transform this, just Control-T, zoom in a little bit. Control+ to zoom in, and just move this so it's a very thin line. Alright. We'll notice right now that we're not able to make it a thin line, and that's because we have snap on. So I'm going to go to View, Snap, and just make it, there we go, just like that. Alright, zoom out a little bit. We have a little gap right here where the red layer is, so I'm just going to transform that up. Control-T to transform. And now before we end this lesson, just pressing Control-0, Control+, Control- to zoom in and zoom out. Before we end this lesson, just going to add a little bit of text. Done. You'll notice that we're not able to see the text, and that's because it is below the layer that we're looking at. Whenever you have a problem, it is either because you're on the wrong layer or because the layer you're looking at isn't viewable. Right now, this is below the black, the white, and the red, so there's no way we're going to be able to see it. If you just drag it up here, you can see it. So just Control-T to increase the size of that, holding down Shift. And, as you know, if we wanted, we could set text down here, just drawing a little bit of a box. But I'm not going to get into that. Not going to type too much. Control-Copy, V, Control-V, just to paste this in and give us some dummy text right here. Just to make you aware of how you would go about doing it. Set this text to black, press OK, and actually get into text more in the next lesson. Hope that helped.